Let me briefly talk now about our website, theglobaldispatch.com. I encourage you to go there. It's a regular news site. It is Google News approved, so it gets into the news feed. And we cover the regular stuff. We cover the U.S. politics. We cover what's going on in Egypt, what's going on in Syria, everything else that you're going to find with other news websites. However, there's a couple things I wanted to point out to you, and I think you should check it out. First is we have a great section on pop culture, and my co-founder and co-host Brandon Jones does an absolutely wonderful job in this area. So if you have an interest in what is Benedict Cumberbatch up to, or what's happening on the next season of Whale Wars, or what's up with the next Avengers, check out the Global Dispatch. We have an RS.
All right, folks, welcome back. We have Mike Weaver on the phone with us from Big Daddy. We've been talking about the tour, Beautiful Offering, some of the great stuff they're doing with their music and the tour, touring with Plum, Jordan Felice. But I want to shift gears now because I know we talked to Mike about this a little bit last time, and he shares my belief. I know I've adopted children. We've got several we're supporting. He works very closely with World Vision, but he also just recently they've gone traveling, and that's got to be an amazing experience. Let Mike talk about it for himself. Mike, go ahead and let's hear about going overseas.
You know, it's crazy. You know, and I never set out to be a world traveler. Man, I am uncomfortable, you know, with going places that I don't know how to speak the language, and I never asked God to let me, you know, to do that. But then it was just sort of like He knows what's best for us, you know. And every time we've ever stepped out to try to help somebody else in that way, or to go out of our comfort zone in that way, man, we have been changed exponentially for the better, man. And in fact, to the way where we were just thanking them, you know, by the time we came like, no, man, thank you guys, man. God just did a huge work in our hearts, you know, because for me as a traveling musician, you know, hey, I've seen the world, you know, that's what I think, you know, from sea to shining sea, my world was America. But when I stood on a mountaintop in Ecuador for the first time, 13,000 feet elevation, man, I was like, whoa, you know, this is out of my comfort zone. Where there's this fog there all day long. Like, what is the fog? They're like, dude, you're so high up, you're in the clouds. You know, that's what's going on. And I saw these little faces come poking through the clouds, and it was kids who were there because this is where their school was. World Vision had put a school on top of a mountain because that's where these kids live. And they were like, you know, this was changing their lives, and they were just there to say thank you, because this was opening doors that literally no generation before them had ever had open to them, you know, just because of education now that was available to them. Them and all of their parents had showed up from miles around. I can't even breathe in 13,000 feet elevation, dude.
That's incredible, man.
And they're just there, and I'm like,
he's turning purple, man. They're gonna do some CPR on him, man.
That's exactly it. We just to be real still, you know what I'm saying? I've become more of a listener at 13,000 feet. So the thing is, whenever I saw them, man, I just began to be haunted by those little faces, man. And then, you know, we traveled to Africa after that, stood in the middle of a desert where they've never been able to grow anything. And because World Vision helped introduce some stuff about irrigation, now there's just like huge, beautiful crops of corn. These farmers, you know, who were kind of skeptical when they first saw us show up, like, what are all these white dudes doing here, you know? And then it's like they found out we were with World Vision, and they're like, oh, and they just are just rattling it off. The translator can barely keep up with them about how, you know, this changed our life. This saved our life. Not only does it feed our families, it changes the whole region. And then they shared about how that's how they've become believers in Jesus. Why would people help us? And then World Vision's like, hey, man, because God loves you. And they're like, well, tell us more about that God, because I don't think we've heard of him, you know. And they received the Lord, not because it was any kind of high-pressure sale, because they had seen the love of God in the form of corn coming out of the ground. That's how we named our record, Love Come to Life, man, was that, because that corn was love come to life, you know. And then we recently, just a little over a year ago, man, went to Cambodia in Asia. And then I'm still not right from that. And when I say right, it's like I don't ever want to be right again. You know what I mean? In that way.
These are tough places and impossible circumstances to get your head around.
Yeah, man. And so when we went to Cambodia and we sat with little kids who live in the trash, man, and they're just starved every way you can think of, dude. And the thing was, the reason we went to Cambodia was honestly because World Vision got run out of Thailand is actually the reason we ended up in Cambodia. Because we want to see how World Vision helps fight against human trafficking. And when you begin to take in the problem and how massive the problem is, like it literally just starts to shut you down, you know? Because, I mean, these are just, I mean, the kids who live in the trash, they're easiest to just go missing, you know, into human trafficking, and they're just gone. They're just like, you know, as young as 3 years old, little boys and little girls, man, just used for the most demonically perverse things, you know? But literally just because, I mean, dude, it would be better to be used for that. They can starve, you know? What kind of choices are these, you know? It's like, I mean, to them, they're the trash that they live in, you know? And bro, I came back from Cambodia. World Vision was in the middle of it. World Vision is really the way they fight it. And there's kind of like the short-term goal and the long-term goal. The long-term goal is to change the mindset. The long-term goal is to show them, man, this, you know, you're valuable. You know, you don't have to be tricked into living this kind of life. You know, you're worth more than that. You know, you don't have to be used for this perversion. You know, but the short-term goal is helping to rehabilitate people who've been in that lifestyle when they come out of that lifestyle, and to walk through them with it, because, oh my gosh, there's so much baggage that comes with that, dude. But, you know, our friends are there with them. They're in it, you know, and that was the most encouraging thing for me. But I went home, and dude, honestly, I just was trying to forget about what I had seen. And I'm not proud to say that, because, I feel like I just wanted to forget about it because of my own comfort level. Like, I was so uncomfortable. The Sunday I get back from Cambodia, there is a missionary from Cambodia at our church.
Wow.
And I'm like, you are kidding me, you know?
Yeah,
and I'm like, there's no escaping this. And so I sat with this missionary, Allie Mellon, and we then actually later wrote some songs together that are on this record that came from the heart of that whole thing. But when I sat with her, I realized that what I was encountering was God's pain. And when I realized that, I mean, I had no idea. It was like God's grieving heart.
Sure.
I had only been at peace in God's presence before. You know, I had never encountered what hurts him, man. At least I didn't think, you know, even though I've caused lots of things that probably hurt him. But I sat on my couch. I remember I would just wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, and when we got back, and I would just sit on the couch, and man, I was just crying away like I've never cried before in my entire life, like till nothing else would come out, man, because it just hurt, and I knew it was him, man. I knew it was his heart. And dude, sitting with him in his pain, man, I learned more about his love than I've ever imagined. Man, he loves us so much. He's willing to make himself that vulnerable. You know, the one being in the entire universe who doesn't have to be subjected to pain because he could exempt himself from it. He makes himself vulnerable to pain, and he hurts on a God-sized level, man. And that changes me, dude. That changes me. And so when we go on these trips, it just, man, we're haunted in the best way. We come back, and I mean, it's also awful, but it is so life-giving in that we just have a sense of purpose. We know Jesus said the poor will always be with you. You know, one of the coolest things I've ever received was a text message that had a list of places that World Vision had pulled out of because they were self-sustaining now. And I was like, because World Vision's not just dealing with like, hey, let's give somebody something to eat. I mean, they do that, but that's the short-term thing, right? The idea is for them to change and affect culture by bringing education and by bringing opportunity for things to be different than the way they are, and it's so complicated, some of the problems of the world, man. And I'm so proud of World Vision. I'm so glad of what they do, and they have a reach that goes, I mean, literally just about all around the planet, man.
Absolutely.
And
all around the world. It's amazing.
It's really incredible. Then something breaks loose here in America, and then they'll show up there too, and it's like, so for natural disasters and stuff like that. I know I'm rambling and on, but
I want to go back to Cambodia for a second, because I tell you what, brother, talk about how God works. I just this morning was having a conversation with someone. She's opposite aisle of political ideals, and not a woman of faith, and she's just felt very broken and frustrated, and talking about the slippery slope of society, the darkness of society, and I kind of took her back to. She mentioned Sodom and Gomorrah, so I felt like I had my in, and I said, but it really goes back to the days of Noah. We're headed back towards this days of Noah that, Book of Revelation talks about this, and that God hurt so bad. God was so pained to see. Can you imagine the world being so wicked that there's no hope for children, because those children will only grow up to be wicked because they're only surrounded by wickedness? And that pain that you experienced in Cambodia, that suffering, that incredible darkness, God has to watch so much of that every minute of every day. And finally something hit her. I don't know that we didn't really move too much past that. I just keep praying for her and hoping that God will keep stirring her heart, because she's seeing that darkness that's out there in places like that you've been, like Tanzania and Cambodia, are just so consuming. And in America, we sit back and we work also with the Trash Mountain Project. And remember, he told me once, he goes, bro, you don't understand. We have a house for our car. They don't have a house. What do you do with that? You know what I mean? It's like we don't even understand. We put our automobiles in a concrete room that's bigger than where these people live, and it's hard for us to get our head around that. And I know that I included human trafficking in a book that I wrote, and all these different things. And it is I'm with you, bro. I've been there. I know my daughter and I. We were researching human trafficking, and we were just crying over the testimonies, the stories of girls that have been saved out. This was in Armenia and Belgium, and it was it's just
dude.
Ooh, Lion Millennium comes to mind, bro. Your song is so powerful to cut through that.
Oh man, dude, I know. And bro, when you just said Armenia, it just like literally gave me the shakes, man, because I think that's our next stop.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And because my brother, we got these little packets from World Vision. That when you open them, it's like there's a little video screen on the inside, and you can see the little one on the front, like say in their own language, they're like, it's them, and they're alive, and they're like, it's so real, and it's like, and it's like, thanks for helping me, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me, and so that's the first one we ever got like that. He opened and he's like, guess who just sponsored another World Vision Kids? It was J-Dog. And J-Dog literally, because he prays over the little faces. That's my brother who plays bass for us. He prays over the little faces like all the time, man. Just asking like, God, let this have this appointment, for them today, and dude, he is sponsored his family, because he keeps accidentally opening packets. His family sponsors 11 kids now at their house.
That's incredible. Incredible.
It really is. They do all kinds of little things to raise funds and stuff to help support their World Vision habit. It's like,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's really amazing.
Well, sadly, we have to wrap up. Mike Weaver with Big Daddy Weave. We will link to World Vision, a lot of that information. Obviously, we'll link back to our earlier part of the conversation. We're talking about the tour. You don't want to miss them. If you're listening to us live, they got 6 stops here in Florida, tour dates all over the country. We'll link to that. Mike is a big favorite of the show. Can't wait to have him on again. And God bless you, brother, and the band, to send everybody our best.
Oh, man, God bless you, dude. Thanks for having me on, man.